Hello, everyone, and my dear subscribers. The live stream today, TLDR, first half was just apologizing for season 3. They admitted that they were in a rush. They came out with season 3 too quick because the farming aspect from the raids were getting very stale. Um, Coming out from complicated power progression systems like elixirs and transcendence, and then moving on to weapon transcendence and echidna, they felt the need to change the system as a whole. So they were in a rush to come out with the season 3 changes with arc passive and the tier 4 stuff. So they kind of rushed it, and this resulted in a very uncalculated, incomplete system. At first, when they designed season 3, they thought it was going to be progressive. All the power sources that they introduced in season 3, it was supposed to be progressive. However, a gear came out 1 month after season 3, and people had to people had to get ancient accessories. So everything was expedited faster than they thought, which they should have thought of. Kind of lame excuse, but according to him, season 3 was rushed and they didn't have enough time to calculate all this. And he brought some data. He was talking about why the gold inflation was caused in KR. This probably doesn't have much to do with the Western version, but the reason why gold inflation was caused in KR is because after Act 2 came out, people started just parking their alts. Act 2 came out very hard, and people started giving up on doing Act 2, Brel, and they just started parking their characters at 1680, not spending any gold. And this resulted in just mass gold production. Because again, Act 2 came out too hard, people lost motivation to hone, so they were just focusing on maybe one main and then their alts parking at 1680. Regarding the engraving book, they do have a certain idea of where they want it to be priced at. They want engraving books to be a rare drop. They want it to be a rarity. So when you get adrenaline or grudge, it brings you dopamine. I wish I can get a feel for this dopamine. But anyways, so yeah, they do want to keep relic books rare. As an example, they said Golden Frog came out in Korea and adrenaline books dropped to 200k from 340, and according to them, more people were using Golden Frog than intended, like 80%, more than 80% used Golden Frog, and it supplied a lot of engraving books. And engraving books went lower than they expected, than their expectation. So Golden Frog will not be extended. They're going to try to bring the engraving book price back up. Um, yeah, most of the part one, the first half of the stream was just, I'm sorry, you guys had to spend so much. It was our mistake. We didn't calculate enough, and I apologize to the Esther owners for the Ella Ella Hula Hula situation. We will reimburse you with 20 Esther stones bound. 20 bound Esther stones. So basically, they apologized for season 3. They acknowledged their incompetence. They weren't ready. And I guess the Esters will get to use it when they go Esther 10. Also, for the future update direction, they said the end content will be more not will be more light and enjoyable. It won't be as heavy or difficult. The difficult version will be there separately. challenging version will be there separately. However, the casual content will be provided along with difficult content. And then they're gonna try to mitigate the character growth progress, even if it means loss in sales for the company. Also, they're going to provide more casual side content that a lot of people can enjoy, more people can enjoy, including solo content. And right now, the rewards from doing raids is basically almost the same every day. It's just gold mats, but they're gonna add something else, add more fun factor into the rewards from raids in the future. He didn't get to the detail, but we'll find out when we do this Cosmos raid. And finally, as a future update direction, they said they're gonna try to be, they're not gonna try to be stubborn anymore. Basically, until now, they had their own standard as developers that their game has to be designed in a certain way, you know, and they try to stick with that. But now they're gonna drop all that. They are acknowledging that they're very out of date when it comes to the game trends. So they're gonna release more easy, casual content, and then they'll try to follow the trend. Also, he mentioned a little bit about the Chinese live stream, and we're basically going to have some similar content, but they won't be exactly the same. So I'm guessing KR and China and the West, I'm guessing we're all gonna have different versions that fits that region. I'm guessing that's a positive for, you know, globally. Also, they're going to nerf 1600 to 1620 honing. They're going to double the success rate and reduce the amount of match required significantly. He didn't say how much or what percentage, but we'll see when the patch hits. I'm guessing Wednesday the 21st, May 21st. Also, they have plans to rework the support. They knew that there was a problem with support design. But he wanted to be very frank about it and honest about it. Supports were too OP. That's why they were really hesitant to rework supports. Supports were making up for about 30 to 38%, I believe, of DPS in raids. They were basically very OP. So reliance on support started getting very high, and you know, people started not liking doing raids without supports. However, they are going to fix this in the summer update. With the summer update, with the summer support rework, supports are gonna feel growth in a very steep graph. However, when they get to a certain point, the growth is going to become very slow. So they're going to see a significant change. And then after that, min-maxing part becomes more difficult. Also, they confirmed the Luon date. Luon summer is going to be on the 21st of June. They're going to give us more details on their future plans. Also, they're going to give us female paladin, which they said they're hiring a voice actor from overseas, a very famous voice actor from overseas for female paladin's voice. So Slayer and female paladin are gonna have different voices. Those were some of the mostly that was the talking part, the yapping part. Now the first half of the stream, I was feeling really bad. He was just apologizing for mistakes. They were basically, I appreciate the honesty. You know, they were being very incompetent, but it was just apologize, and apologize again. The second half actually made me very excited for the future to come in Lost Ark, which is they're going to give us a combat analysis, personal combat analysis, personal DPS meter. Finally, it started there. A huge win. And then they also talked about the new gem system. Basically, the lockout is going to be 2 weeks Uh, you can. I don't think you will be able to unlock it with blue crystals. I'm not sure. But the lockout is going to be 2 weeks, but there's going to be no attack power from binding the gems. So the only advantage you're getting by binding the gem is being able to convert DPS to CD gem or CD gem to DPS gem. And the penalty for binding the gem will be 2-week lockout. For duplicate character enjoyers, just don't bind the gems. You'll be able to funnel it to your ults, whatnot, and everything will remain the same. Also, we finally this is what got me most excited. Um they finally showed us some illustrations for Kazuros. He explained that this is 2 pairs of wings. He did not get into the details of what these wings are. But he wants us to wait and find out. So I guess we'll have to wait. And this is the stage of Dungeon 1 for Kazuros. There's going to be 2 dungeons. And in the first dungeon, you fight the first boss and the second boss. And this is the stage for first boss. And then after you fight the first boss, the door opens and you go into this venue. This is where you fight the second boss of Dungeon 1, which started, I don't know, it started giving me chills from here on because this is what I was waiting for. Something to look forward to, the hype for Kazuro's raid. And this is the corridor, the way, the hallway to he's on it, basically Kadan, he's on his way to fight Kazuros. And then lastly, Kazuros. I got chills. I got chills from this illustration. He looks so cool. He looks so freaking cool. It's all I wanted. This is what I wanted. Exactly what I wanted. Just some sneak peek. You know, I just wanted some hype to fight Kazuros, and finally get to see what he looks like. And gotta tell you, he looks scary as fuck. Oh, he also talked about how he felt that the recent raid bosses felt very random. It's like these bosses popped out of nowhere unless you like dig into the lore and story. It's kind of hard to know where like a gear or a Narok, like we know they're supposed to be, somebody from like someone from Abyss, but like it was hard to emerge into the story because they kind of just popped out of nowhere, like random. Um, they acknowledged that it's their fault because they weren't storytelling. It wasn't enough. So from here on, I think that's going to improve. I think next raids we'll get to feel more immersed. Also, Kazuro's raid is going to be the final raid of the first part. Legion raids and Kazuro's raid, if these raids were like challenging concept, the concept of like challenging them, part 2 is going to open up the Sea of Ocean or Sea of Aldebaran. And part 2, after Cosros, we can look forward to more adventure-like concepts of raids or content. So, I think we're going to get to see more in the Summer Luau, which is going to be on the June 21st. And that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.